Good afternoon and happy Friday. Welcome to my page, Living Fatigue Free with Erin Rollins. I hope this page can really just shed some light on my own health journey. And I just want to say I don't promote any specific diet. I think that everyone's body is different and needs different things. And so what I share in this page are just things that have worked for me and really helped me and things that I love. And so one of the things I talked about last week was managing pain after spinal cord injury or due to underlying disease, and in addition to pharmaceuticals. So I was, hit head on by a wrong way drunk driver in 2014. I suffered a pretty severe spinal injury, lower spinal injury, which required several surgeries, and I still have neurological dysfunction to this day. And so I still have like sciatic nerve pain, some in the pudendal nerve, which is basically through the butt area. And so something that I found that's really helpful is turmeric. And so today I want to show you how to make golden milk, turmeric milk tea, iced or hot. I've also noticed, some of you who've been following my page know that I've been battling candida, which is basically an overgrowth of bad bacteria. And in my case, because I've had so many rounds of antibiotics via all the surgeries and also my propensity to struggle with UTIs as a result of self-cathing, all my good bacteria seems that it is no longer present. So one of the ways that you combat that is really, going on a sugar detox, watching carbs that you're eating, not even complex carbs, like cutting grains out completely. For me, I have to cut out dairy because I've been having allergic reactions, even stevia and monk fruits. I've had to find other ways to nourish myself as well as sweeten things. And right now, I really haven't found anything that works for baked goods that I can have and don't react to. So I have a couple, suggestions for sweetener. I'll show you what I do for my turmeric drink, because turmeric is very powerful. It's also very orange, and so it may tend to dye your utensils and or clothing. So I would recommend putting on an apron, especially if you're concerned about what you're wearing. So my cousin actually made this apron for me after Dennis and I got married, and she made one for Dennis too. And it says, Mrs. Good Looking and Cooking, Viva La Rollins. So I really enjoy this apron. Thank you, Kelsey. So for those of you who don't know, turmeric has a lot of health benefits. I'm just going to read you this article that I've linked. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the points that I've linked to this post of how turmeric and curcumin is the active ingredient in turmeric. I hope I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, don't judge me. So turmeric contains bioactive compounds with powerful medicinal properties. Curcumin is a natural anti-inflammatory compound, and some people have actually compared curcumin in turmeric to the effectiveness of ibuprofen. And I would agree with that because I have taken turmeric after I've had some allergies as a result of new reactions because of the candida. So I develop really watery, itchy red eyes, congestion, a lot of fatigue. I noticed that I have more joint pain, which has really been managed since I've been doing the adrenal recovery program. And I noticed a flare up in my nerve pain if I eat sugar or things that kind of aggravate the inflammatory response. And let me tell you, a half a teaspoon of turmeric in a milk in the morning and at night really helps me. There was a couple times where I took it and I completely forgot that I even had pain, and I didn't have to take ibuprofen, which technically I'm not supposed to take a lot of because I've had so many, because I've had the bone fusions and in my spine and so many surgeries, and it can actually slow down the fusion of the bone. Curcumin boosts brain-derived neurotropic factor linked to improved brain function and a lower risk of brain diseases. It can lower your risk of heart disease. It can help fight against cancer. May be useful in preventing and treating Alzheimer's disease. Arthritis patients respond very well because arthritis, as you know, anything that ends in itis equals inflammation. Studies show that curcumin has incredible benefits against depression, chronic diseases, etc. So honestly, the best turmeric that I found, I purchased a turmeric capsule and I did not receive the same benefit. It also really helps for any sort of bladder issues. So I noticed after Dennis and I got married at the end of 2016, at the beginning of 2017, I had the copper IUD put in, and I did not do well with the copper IUD. So I no longer have it, but during having it, I developed interstitial cystitis type symptoms in my bladder where I would have a lot of like urgency to use the bathroom, even though my bladder is compromised because of the spinal injury. And it felt like I had a chronic UTI, and I actually took antibiotics thinking that I had a UTI, and then the doctor's office called me and said, no, you don't have a UTI, but you need to continue taking the antibiotics. And I really wish that I would not have listened to them about that. And I noticed that turmeric really helps when I'm having bladder pain, those interstitial cystitis symptoms that are coming up from, honestly, the IUD when I had it before. And like I said, allergies, pain, and even watery, itchy, allergic reaction in my eyes. So I'm going to show you how I make turmeric tea. I make it on the stove, and then you can add ice to it to make it iced. I don't know why, but I've had this obsession with ice drinks this winter, even though it makes no logical sense because it's been freezing. But now that we're moving into spring, I know more people are wanting to drink iced drinks. So I will show you. I have all the ingredients here. So Dennis and I got like a set of these canisters for our wedding registry. And so I buy raw turmeric powder. Like I said, the capsules did not work for me. The, capsules filled with turmeric. So I went online and bought raw turmeric. This is amazing. It's non-GMO, organic. I've had it forever. The canister seems to store it really well so it doesn't get old. I think you can probably keep it for about a year or so. Look at the expiration date. And then, like I said, you want to add a milk. I would suggest a full fat coconut milk. You can also buy, like I don't know if it's a pint or a quart of almond milk or coconut milk, but the more fat you have, the more absorption you're going to get with turmeric and the curcumin. So they actually recommend a higher fat content when you're drinking turmeric. It helps your body absorb it better. So my favorite is actually the coconut cream because it's thicker and it's smoother, and honestly, it tastes better. So there's that. And then you want to sweeten it with something. Coconut sugar is really recommended if you have issues with like glucose because it has a lower glycemic index and it's more in the raw. It's not dyed. As you can see, it's like golden color. Because of my candida issue right now, I try to avoid all sugar that I'm going to put in anything just because it feeds the yeast. I used to use this organic stevia, and this is more processed. It's clear and it tastes amazing, and I react to this now. But for someone who's diabetic or someone who has fatigue or they're on the adrenal fatigue recovery program, I would highly recommend stevia over any other like alternative sugars with 0 calories because longitudinal studies show that it's actually very safe compared to like, aspartame or Splenda or some of those other things. Although doctors do recommend Splenda and or stevia if you are diabetic or trying to lose weight. But I personally like stevia. So the way that I've gotten around my reaction to stevia is I found a whole leaf stevia concentrate, and it's going to be backwards because the camera is facing me. That way I can see what's actually in the view. And this is pretty dark in color, and it's a little bit more bitter. Actually, it's a bit more bitter. So what I normally do is I'll do 6 drops of this in the turmeric milk. And then if I add other spices like cardamom or cinnamon, it tastes really good. If I do a matcha green tea latte, it's going to need some extra sweetener. So I've been putting in a couple teaspoons of my husband's almond milk creamer because it has like 4 grams of sugar. So it's not as terrible as getting a green tea matcha latte from Starbucks, which is like 20 grams of sugar, for a venti, and why not get a venti when it's only like 50-60 cents more than a grande? I mean, come on. So a way to get around drinking the 20 grams of sugar, if you're really watching your sugar, is what I do is I do the 6 drops of stevia, and then I'll do a couple teaspoons of the almond milk creamer, which ends up being maybe like 6 extra grams of sugar. So a lot less than the 20. I also sometimes add pure vanilla extract just to give the turmeric drink a little bit more of a flavor, especially if you're not going to use sugar in addition to the whole leaf stevia, which, like I said, is kind of bitter. So if you are not the type of person who has really watched your sugar content and you have more higher tolerance for sugar, I would say coconut sugar to taste. So I would put maybe a teaspoon in until you actually like the way it tastes, because who wants to make something that tastes awful and then you're less likely to take it, even if it's helping you in some way. Okay, so I'm gonna do the coconut cream. I also have the coconut milk. It's a little bit thinner. So if you don't like things as thick or as smooth, I would go with that. We're gonna go ahead and open this here. And then it's actually pretty easy to make this turmeric drink. So depending on how much you actually want to make, my husband, I will let you know, loves sugar. I swear he has an addiction to sugar. And when I've made it with just the stevia, and all the other spices, he's loved it. So if that tells you anything, you might consider doing that. Or, like I said, the organic, this is Pure Mountain Botanicals. I bought it offline. You can buy something at a local Hy-Vee or your local store. I like the liquid stevia better in drinks than I do the powder. I like the powder better for like baking. So I usually use half the can and then I'll save the rest of it for like tomorrow. That way, every day that I make it, it's fresh. You could probably make it in bulk, but I can't guarantee that it's going to taste fresh if you do that. So like I said, I kind of do half of it. And at the top, you'll notice it's really thick here. And then at the bottom is a lot more of the cream. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of a weird angle with this camera, so I apologize. And so then I'll turn it on to like a medium heat. Let me get a utensil really quickly. Okay, so I usually kind of just try to break up the thickness of the coconut cream here. But the heat will kind of break it up for you anyways. And for those of you who are watching, hello. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, concerns. I will try to answer them if you put them in the comment section. I am thinking about doing kind of a segment every week called Living Fatigue Free Friday. So if any of you like that idea or you follow my page and you have questions about anything, please let me know, because I'm always looking for ideas. I think next week I'll do the matcha green tea latte, because I literally drink that every day. I cannot go a day without it. There was actually one day that I did not drink it and I was super grumpy by the afternoon, and I remember asking my husband, like, why am I so off today? I just feel like I'm in a funk. And then it hit me, I'm like, oh, I haven't had my matcha latte today. So at that time we were already out, so we went to Starbucks, and I just felt like $1 million after. I don't know what's in the green tea matcha. I just know that it's super good for you. It's a finely ground green tea. It helps with attention, it helps with mood. It has a little bit of caffeine, so I definitely do not have an addiction to caffeine because I don't drink any other caffeinated drinks. Okay, so anyways, for those of you who, have tried matcha or want to try it, I'll try to do the recipe next week. So as you can see, this is a lot more liquidy, which is what we want. And you know what, actually I'm just going to do the whole thing. Let's just do the whole thing because my husband will probably want some. And don't mind King, he likes to bark at everything. So you probably hear him in the background. Okay, so once it's all melted or all creamy like this, and that sound is really annoying. Liquidy, then you want to start adding the other ingredients. So I don't really go by recipes anymore. Originally, I found a recipe online. It was an Indian recipe for the golden milk tea. I don't really go by that anymore. I kind of just go by what I like and what tastes good to me. So what I would do is I would recommend to start off with maybe a half a teaspoon of turmeric powder. Again, this is a whole can of milk. I originally was only going to do half a can, but my husband will drink some. So I'm going to grab a spoon really quickly. Well, this is more of like a tablespoon. So I add the turmeric first just because you want it to, you know, mix really well. So I'm going to do about a half a tablespoon because I used a whole can of milk. And I hope you can see this. Let me see if I can put it there. Okay, and so it's going to turn your drink orange. So that's why I'm wearing this apron, because I don't want to get it on my clothes. And it will stain like your cooking utensils, so I do recommend cleaning them right away. Also, vinegar works wonders. I know that vinegar has helped me clean like cookingware like this. So this is a Le Creuset. I love it because I can make like small soups, I can make my lattes, I can make veggies in here. It's really the perfect size. Okay, so there are going to be clumps that are forming, but the heat actually reduces the clumping. So you want to just continue stirring. And if you get annoyed with that, you can go ahead and add some of the other ingredients and then go back to stirring it after that. So usually I'll add cardamom. I kind of just coat the top, but I also am not one of those chicks who goes light on the spices. Like, I love spice. And luckily, some of the recipes I've made for people after they've had children, you know how we do like the church kind of food, I don't know what you call it, not a food swap, but you cook for people who have just had surgery or something. A lot of the people have commented on that they like the spices. So if you're really hesitant about spice, I'd be careful, and I would kind of less is more and then see how you like it. But for me, if you're a person who does not like plain food, then go ahead and just add generously. Also cinnamon. This is Frontier Co-op. I'm so grateful I found it. It is ETO free. So they don't use ETO, which is a highly toxic and dangerous chemical, to clean or sterilize. Maybe I'm saying this wrong. Somehow they go through a process of sterilization. It's non-GMO, organic, etc. I love it. And I do the same thing with cinnamon. I add generously. So once it starts to kind of boil, you want to turn it on lower heat because you don't want to burn the milk. You just want it to be nice and hot for when you actually drink it. And then for those of you who cannot even stand thinking about a hot drink right now, I know that I had to open windows today. I would make it hot, and then you can add ice cubes, or that will kind of reduce the clumping, or you can go ahead and deal with the clumping, put the milk in like a canister like this. So this is a mixer that I actually bought. So people use these to make mixed drinks, but I thought I'll make my turmeric milk with it, and that will kind of break up the powder as well. And you can just put all the ingredients in the canister, shake it up, or even a blender, and then you can bypass the whole heating it up thing. And then you add ice, of course, which I'll show you at the end. Okay, so we added coconut milk. We added a half a teaspoon, what am I saying? I'm sorry, it's been a long day. Half a tablespoon of turmeric. We've added a generous amount of cinnamon powder. Cardamom, which adds a really unique flavor to it. I can't really describe what the flavor is. If you've enjoyed Indian food, you've probably eaten some of the sweeter dishes which will have cardamom in them. I also bought cardamom because it tastes really good in smoothies. So it's more of a spice for like a sweeter type of dish or drink. And then you can feel free to add nutmeg, like if you don't do cinnamon, which I didn't do for a long time because I was reacting to that. Thank God I'm not anymore. You can add nutmeg, or you can add both. Honestly, it's really up to you and what your palate needs. And then I'm gonna add the stevia. So like I said, this is more bitter, but I don't react to it. It's the non-processed kind because it's raw leaf, and I put about 9 drops for a whole can of coconut milk and 6 drops for a half a can. And like I mentioned before, I've given this to my husband with only the stevia that's more bitter tasting, and although he's addicted to sugar and loves sweet things, he really, really enjoyed this. And it really helped him when he has kind of like some digestive issues, so that's why he's so skinny, because his body cannot really absorb nutrients properly. And so sometimes if he eats, you know, a lot of fast food, or if he eats things that are not organic and have lots of pesticides on them, he can have flare-ups where he has a lot of abdominal pain. He sometimes sweats, gets really weak, can't go to work. They thought he had Crohn's for a long time, but then he really didn't match that criteria, so then they said he had ulcerative colitis. From my personal opinion, I don't think he has either. I think that he gets flare-ups from his body reacting to the pesticides or the chemicals that are in the food, because when he only eats at home, because I am very careful about what I bring into my house. I try to only buy organic, non-GMO, not because I'm against the idea of genetically modified foods. I'm not. It's more so the pesticides, the glyphosate that they're putting on there that I have a problem with. So anyways, when he was sick and I gave him this, it really helped kind of calm down that flare-up, that inflammation. And then he was asking about it like the next day, like, can I have some more turmeric milk? So if that tells you anything, he really, really enjoyed that. So as you can see, it's kind of yellow. It's still pretty clumpy. It's kind of hard with this angle of the camera, but I'll try. It's pretty clumpy still. So usually I'll just kind of try to re-stir it. But now that it's pretty hot, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in a mug, or I had these glass, you know, kind of to-go containers that had straws, and I left them at my sister's house, and I feel so like naked without them, because I have to find new ways to carry my drinks that are iced. Okay, I'm gonna grab a mug really quickly. Okay, so I'm having a hard time finding, I don't know where my ladle is. So we're gonna use what we have, measuring cup. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the canister and add some ice to it. And if you're sensitive to the content of fat, I would just say maybe buy just a regular coconut milk at the store, because again, the fat helps the turmeric, the curcumin, to absorb in the body. So it looks like this. I'm gonna try it. That's perfect. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so now that I like it, and it's getting really hot, so I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna put it in this canister to make it iced, and I'm gonna add some ice to it and shake it up. Apparently I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was. Okay. So we don't have an ice maker, so my husband has been doing a great job of filling up the ice trays and putting them in this container. So I like ice. I would add maybe like 4 ice cubes. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna add the turmeric. I'm really glad I made the whole can because I'm running out. To the canister. And I really don't have a ladle, so we are gonna try to, I don't know where my ladle is. I do have one, just so you all know. And this should kind of break up some of the powder too, if it's still not completely dissolved in the liquid. So I got most of it out. I'm gonna go ahead and shake it up and then pour it in a separate cup. I've actually never used this before, so now I'm worried that if I shake it up, it's going to get all over the place. Oh goodness. Yeah, it's meant for bar drinks. Maybe this was the wrong choice. Oh goodness. Okay, it's not terrible. As you can see, I just do it the old-fashioned way. I've never used this before. I thought it would be all fancy if I could do it this way. Okay, it seems to not be bad, so we're good. I'm gonna grab a cup really quickly. Okay, so this kind of cutesy little glass here. You can always add more. Again, you probably need a rag that you don't care about to wipe off your hands because you're gonna get some of it on your hands. Sorry, I keep disappearing. Like I said, I'm not as prepared as I thought I was, but oh well. Okay, so, and Dennis and I have paper towels that are way too high for me. Oh goodness. All right, so this is dripping. I'm gonna grab. There we go. Okay, hopefully that does not fall. I still use a stool. Okay, so I would have something on hand that you can just throw away because otherwise you're probably gonna get it all over. All right, let's see how this works. And it's dripping, so be careful. So now this would be a nice iced drink. Again, you don't have to go through the whole process of heating it up, although it does melt the turmeric a lot faster or breaks up the clumps. You can go ahead and just put all the ingredients in this canister, but I would be careful because it is turmeric. It will dye your clothing and or your utensils. So cheers. Hopefully you learned something from this video, enjoyed my ridiculousness, and next week, if you enjoyed this video, I will attempt to make a green tea latte, my style. And I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please post below, and have a great day.